Hello, Tim Rippstein, DCE from St. John here. I wanted to share a little bit. It looks like we're going to be worshiping at home a little bit longer, and so I thought it might be helpful to share some tips and hints on how to make worship at home meaningful, especially if you have other people in your household, but even if you're worshiping at home with the rest of us through cyberspace, that some tips might be helpful. First thing would be to set up a worship space. Set up a space that is kind of unique or different than what we do the rest of the week, whether it's at your kitchen table, whether it's in your living room, but some things to make that space kind of special, since worship is special, would be certainly to set up a cross. We use crosses in our worship service. Crosses remind us that Jesus, as we reminded recently in Easter, is no longer on the cross. So we have a cross, but it's empty. That reminds us that he is risen. He has paid the price. We are free. And so we have a cross as a way to just remind us that this is a special worship and we're worshiping Christ. Something else that you might have that we certainly use in our worship service would be a Bible. We use the scriptures. We read them every time we gather together around his word. And having your scriptures there ready to look up stuff as Pastor references the Bible in his sermon. So we would have that there to use. Another possibility would be maybe a candle. We use candles in a lot of our worship services and events around God. As we light the candle, we can remember that Christ is the light of the world. Also becomes an opportunity to teach children how to handle matches safely. Of course, you want to supervise that. But maybe an early acolyte or a little home acolyting, where a child can bring the light to the candle and light it. And then later, when the worship is over, maybe again, the young acolyte can put it out. I know when our children were small, we would light candles during devotion times, and they found that very meaningful as a chance to be part of it. And in times they usually would vie for that role. So those are some things that we can do to set up a worship space as we gather together. It can also maybe make worship fun. If you have children or young people at home, you can gather around the table, maybe come in your pajamas. That'd be kind of unusual. Gathering together, maybe on the couch, if you're watching it in your living room on television, all scrunched together on a couch under a warm blanket. Might be kind of cozy, but a chance to make it fun. Maybe even for kids to, or maybe even not so much so young kids, can bring their stuffed animal or pet to worship and just kind of have a chance to make it unique and fun together, a chance for a gathering together. It's also an opportunity to teach our children, even at home, that God gives us all that we have, even in this time of the coronavirus. He continues to watch over us, continues to bless us with a lot of things that we need to stay healthy and grow. And yet we learn to share some of what he's given to us, to give it back. Traditionally in the church, we give an offering. 10% has been a guideline. It's certainly not a rule. But tithing, a portion of what God has given us, we give back for the ministry of the church. So if you have a basket, maybe you have a hat or a piggy bank that you can pass around, but you can pass that. And again, have your young acolytes or ushers pass that around, give a portion back to God who gives us so richly, that a chance to share with the rest of the congregation and the ministry that St. John is involved with now, even as much as ever, but also a chance to teach children about this giving back and sharing with others what God has given to us. Certainly prayers are a part of our worship service. And so while worshiping at home, this can become an opportunity for teaching a little bit more about prayer and praying together with each other. And so possibly throughout the week you have a notepad or can stick something on the refrigerator where you jot down notes, prayers for one another, things that you're thankful for. Maybe an opportunity to look for Jesus at work, even in the midst of this quarantine setting that we find ourselves in, but to see where God is at work, and opportunity to pray for people we care about, pray for one another in our church, in our homes, in our schools, in our families, pray for our teachers because they're also doing extra work to make sure our kids are growing. in their understanding of God's creation. And then together as we worship on Sunday, we can bring those prayers together and pray for one another, and sharing each other's prayers as well as the prayers of the congregation when our pastor leads us in prayer. Possibly also another fun thing we might do is to bless each other. At the end of our worship service, God, through our pastor, shares a blessing for all the congregation gathered together, and we can do that at home as well. We can offer a blessing to each other. It's meaningful, powerful for children to be able to bless their parents and give them a blessing. And it can be something simple as God bless you. Or there are a number of blessings in the Bible we can use or in the hymnal. And then also parents to be able to bless their children or brothers and sisters, husbands and wives, people to be able to bless one another even as the pastor blesses us at the end of our worship service. There are other tips and hints, other things to do at home on our webpage for families, for adults, for teenagers. And there's also activities that you can do. I know people are getting tired of being online in front of a screen for more than usual. And so there are events and activities, crafts that you can do. Some of these are posted on our website to help you get off the screen. Soon we're going to post some ideas that you can do when you're outside. If you're going for walks or playing in your yard, we'll post some things and conversation starters that you can use as you're out walking around and getting away from the screens. So there's some tips. Set up a worship space. Make it fun. Add some things to your worship space, such as a cross or a Bible, a candle. Maybe have a young usher or young acolyte participate. Sharing in God's blessings, giving back through offerings, passing the offering piggy bank around, praying together, and blessing one another. Those are some things that we can do to make our worship at home more meaningful, and also maybe a little bit more fun and cozy as well. So I hope these tips are helpful, and I sure look forward to getting back together when we can all worship in the same space together. But until then, we'll continue to worship in cyberspace. God be with you.